Hello, this is Andrew Thake from Mines and Money. Delighted to be joined with us today by Jim Greig, President and Chief Executive Officer of Lannister Mining. Great to go and see you again, Jim.
Always a pleasure, Andrew.
Great. Now, for some of our viewers who may not be familiar with Lannister Mining, can you give us a quick overview of the company?
Yeah, Lannister Mining's currently a private company that will be going public early this year, but we hold an exceedingly good gold and silver asset in Montana, USA. This asset has an extreme amount of historical data and drilling on it. So it's a discovery that's large. It has in excess of 320 drill holes in it. And Lannister Mining will be working towards a maiden resource estimate upon executing its IPO.
And where do you plan to go and list?
We'll be listing on the Toronto Venture Exchange.
Okay. And then just in terms of, perhaps you can just go give us a bit more detail for our viewers who aren't familiar to Montana. What is Montana like as a mining jurisdiction?
Montana used to be one of the at the forefront of mining in the USA. It's still a very, very good mining jurisdiction, but it is indeed underexplored. Nevada has superseded or vaulted well ahead of Montana, but it has an extreme amount of wealth in gold, silver, and copper. And so there's a number of operators in Montana and the neighboring states. And it's one of those areas that's going through a revival.
And of course, you've assembled a really, really great management team. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and also the team that you've assembled?
Certainly, you're right, Andrew. We've assembled a tier one top-notch management and board of directors. I'm currently president and a founder at Benchmark Metals. And Benchmark recently put out a combined indicated and inferred 3 million ounces of gold in northern British Columbia. And that company now is progressing towards a feasibility study and a mining decision. I've got a career-long path of near 25 years in the resource sector. So I lost my hair along the way, I guess it's due to experience. Yeah. But some of my colleagues in the company have all been involved in new discoveries and putting mines into production. It's a very strong technical team, but also has the capability of attracting serious capital towards developing and putting the assets forward.
Can you tell us a little bit about your investor base?
Certainly, yeah, certainly. So the management and the board are some of the largest shareholders in the company as it is right now. So we all have skin in the game, so to speak. This group is developing a new company based on wins on the shares and the stock market. So we take our risk and position the same as shareholders in the open market do. We've also inserted some key strategic people moving forward. This involves some financially elite characters, but also some strong bankers. And this will become more evident as we get towards the IPO near the end of Q1 this year in 2022.
Back to your plan for 2022, you've obviously mentioned your plan IPO. What other plans do you have in the pipeline as well, in terms of exploration and obviously moving from exploration to development and then production?
Sure. So the initial plans here post IPO are to drill the property to validate those historical drill holes. In addition, there'll be some geophysics and some surface sampling and trenching. That program should be late spring, early summer. Following that, we will have a maiden resource estimate, and we anticipate here there's somewhere between 2 and 3 million ounces coming out of the gate here with all of this historical data. So this company will advance very quickly with a resource within 2022.
Mhm. The big sort of topic on everyone's lips in 2021, and I guess for the last 2 years, has been ESG. What are your ESG credentials?
Yeah, so we're very cognizant of operating in a very safe and sustainable manner. We're already exploring partnering with some strong ESG companies to help us guide along this path line. But our, credentials from the board and management is we've always operated in a manner where communities are always our first partner to consider. But beyond that, we're also looking into more sustainable practices to develop this mine. So we're looking at actually some alternatives here for recovery of gold and silver, and that includes things like biosulfate or green type practices for removal of the gold and silver. So we're looking across the landscape here and trying to create a project that is at the forefront of ESG practices. Given the company's currently private, we have a bit of a time period here where we can investigate further before going public. But we would indeed like to be on the forefront of all these ESG new initiatives.
And presumably these recovery practices you're looking at in the field of gold and silver, presumably that will also like help you in terms of maintaining low operating and all-in sustaining costs.
Yeah, well, of course, the number one, these practices have to work within a profitable mandate. So it's got to be an economic method of recovery. But these new methods that are coming out here for processing ore and recovery are starting to prove to be very effective. The other key component of this deposit is that it's very coarse gold, which lends itself to be amenable to a gravity recoverable. So gravity is simply a method of crushing and grinding and recovering the heavier gold. So that actually helps us in a sustainable practice because, you could be recovering 30 to 40% of your gold simply through a crush and grind rather than involving substances that are deleterious.
And just as one sort of final question, obviously the kind of the gold market or prices in gold were relatively sort of like flat last year after a really stellar 2020. What do you think will happen to the gold price in 2022?
I think gold's shaping up to be in a good position right now. It's approximately $1,800 US gold. With the numbers that are coming out around the world, inflation is probably the biggest catalyst to growth on gold. We're seeing 6% inflation numbers across North America. And it looks as though those numbers are going to continue well into 2022. In addition to that, inflation with enormous debt lends itself to being a very good support or safe haven to hold gold. There is competition though. Nowadays crypto is becoming a bit of a similar type of asset to gold. However, gold is a physical asset that you can hold in your hands. And I don't think gold is going to disappear as a safe haven type asset. I think we'll see gold rise perhaps closer to $2,000 through 2022. And that's what you're starting to see some of the bigger banks position a price as a forecast. So we're looking to see the start of 2022 as a base of $1,800. And I think there's a lot of room for gold to move ahead.
Yeah, certainly gold isn't going to go away anytime soon. And for any viewers listening in, I would thoroughly endorse what you've just said, Jim. Go and invest in gold. Don't go and invest in crypto. And if you are going to invest in gold, definitely take a look at Lannister Mining. That was Andrew Thake from Mines and Money with Jim Greig, President and Chief Executive Officer of Lannister Mining.
Thank you, Andrew.